Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy. More specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney. So a couple weeks ago, I was with all of my sisters. Well, there's 5 of us in total, and one of them couldn't make it to the baby shower that we were attending, but 4 of us were there. And we don't see each other enough, but every time we do, we have a blast, sharing memories, good, bad, and funny, with each other and anyone else who will listen. I truly think that the bond between siblings is so special. This last spring, I had the honor of interviewing Carly Ritter, one of the meteorologists on Fox 4 News here in Kansas City. After our interview, I was asking her if she knew of anyone else that would be a good fit for the podcast. So she sent me contact information for several individuals, including her sister, Alex Olson. I couldn't wait to meet Alex, hear her story, and learn about everything she does. I'm excited to have Alex as today's podcast guest, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Well, hey, Alex, welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to your sister, Carly, for connecting the two of us. We're laughing because this is take 2, like the internet, I don't know what happened, but yeah, so I'm so thankful to your sister Carly for connecting the two of us. And you have so many interesting things that you're doing. And typically I like to, start from the very beginning of your story and go forward, but I want to do the opposite with you. I want to start with what you're doing now and then hear about how that came about and even into what you were doing in Florida with wine, because that sounded interesting.
Yes. So currently I am the Director of Vision Services at Children's Center for the Visually Impaired. I'm a teacher of the visually impaired, which means that I ensure that students with visual impairments and young adults with visual impairments have the same access that their sighted peers have to everything educationally related. I also love to teach Braille. I'm a huge Braille nerd.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And basically I just ensure that, children and students with visual impairments have, equal access to everything that their sighted peers have so that they can compete on a level playing field.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So did you have someone in your life early on that was visually impaired that sparked this interest, or where did it come from?
Never. I needed a language credit in college.
Okay.
I was a back girl at Florida State University for the baseball team, and my advisor actually worked for the baseball team. And he kind of just noticed that I always kind of took it out of the field. Especially children with disabilities. And I just always was really super welcoming to them. And so I went to see him one day and he said, you need a language credit. So let's take Braille. Okay.
Wow.
So it kind of came really naturally. I walked in my first day. My instructor, who is, she's super famous in the field. She's literally written almost all of my textbooks, put this Perkins Brailler down in front of me, which is like this ancient 25-pound steel machine. We still use it today. It's just this really old machine. And it was just like lights went off. This is what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I just became obsessed. So, it gives me goosebumps. Like it was just, this is the field. This is, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So it just kind of went from there. So I got my bachelor's and my master's in visual disabilities, and I have never looked back. I've been in the field for 17 years now, and I've taught everything from kindergarten to fourth grade to preschool to just being a Braille teacher, everything. So I love what I do. I love my job, and not very many people can say that.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love what I do.
That's so cool. And I love that you found it early on. Like for me, it was, I was in the corporate world for almost a decade before I figured out what I wanted to do and find my passion. So I love that you found that early on. And I love that you had that instructor and that coach in your life that he pointed you or she pointed you in that direction.
Yes, I got very lucky.
Yeah, that's so cool. Wow. So what would you want people to know about the visually impaired?
Um, it's a lot of people find um, people who are blind or visually impaired to be very kind of intimidating for some
Hmm.
reason. They see someone walking with a cane, or they see someone who is blind or visually impaired, and they think like, "Oh, I need to stay away from them. I need to stay out of their way."
Hmm.
That's not the case. Go up, introduce yourself. Chances are you're going to meet a really cool person. They're just like everyone else. And it's you know the field is super super interesting, and Braille is very, very interesting. I know, every time that I tell someone what I do, they're like, "Oh, I always read the Braille like in the elevator or on my hotel
Yeah.
room, or something like that." um it's just it's there, it's out there. So when you meet someone or when you see someone, go up and introduce yourself, because there's absolutely nothing intimidating about talking to that person and finding out their story and getting to know them. So that would kind of be my advice.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right, like the elevator, that's really the only place that, first comes to mind for me where I would see Braille. But I'm sure it's everywhere. Now, what's going to happen is after this conversation, I'm going to start seeing it. I'm going to notice it, just like when you are looking for a new car and then you start to see that car everywhere. So yeah, I'm going to look for that. So very good, very good. And I know that you had said that um, you had had some struggles with your with after you had your children and weight gain. And tell me about some of that and how you lost the weight, what you're doing now to stay in shape.
Yeah. It was hard. Postpartum depression hit hard with both
Yeah.
babies. um I had my first baby in Florida. I had my second baby here, right in the middle of the pandemic. So, that was a really, really difficult time to, um, but just finding a community both times was very, very important to me. Having those mental health supports was very important both times. About 2 years ago, I started going to 9 round, and that was a huge, huge lifesaver for me. So since baby number two, I've been able to lose about 60 pounds, which is,
That's great.
I'm just super excited about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but it really has been just a balance of, that proper nutrition, the 4 to 5 times a week into the gym, and then really those mental health supports. You really have to have that well-rounded um, lifestyle to ensure that you're really doing everything that you need to be doing, because it's not just one thing that you can
yeah.
do to ensure that you're really hitting the mark. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And your sister was saying the same thing that it's just a combination of a variety of things. And, one of the things that we talked about was how important your mental health is and how that can often be neglected in the piece that's left out. And, I know she was saying that that should be probably the one that we start with.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, oftentimes, especially after you've had a baby, it takes someone saying, "Hey, you need to go check in on that," to kind of kickstart the, "Oh, I should probably start going to the gym too."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, put down the Oreos. Let's
Yeah.
go to the gym, and let's start going to therapy too.
Yes. No, yes. And you're right. Nutrition it's such a big piece. It used to be when we were younger that, we could eat pretty much whatever we wanted as long as we worked out. And oh my
Right.
gosh, I can tell you, I mean, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years older than you. And watch it now, do it now, because it
Yeah.
is hard. It's
Right.
so hard. So I like that you have all of those components. And I like that you found something that you really enjoy for your fitness, because I think that's important too. You have to love it.
Yes. Yes. And it's also, I mean, going to 9 round, getting to punch things 4 to 5 times a week is very therapeutic. So,
Yeah.
you know, that is a huge, huge thing for me as well as, if you're having a bad day, being able to walk into the gym and actually physically punch things is real great sometimes.
Yeah. And how old are your kids now?
5 and 3.
Okay, so you are
So
busy, busy.
in the thick of it, yes.
Yeah. Which, I mean, so admirable that you are doing that for yourself, because as women and mothers, we often just put ourselves aside and take care
Yeah.
of all of them. But really, we need to focus on, just like the mental health piece we were saying, we need to focus on us first. You have to put that mask on you first before you can assist
Yes.
someone else.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's wonderful that you're doing that. So you moved to the Kansas City area from Florida?
Mm.
Okay, was it your
Yeah.
sister that brought you here? Was it something else?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, a combination of my sister and my job.
Okay.
Um, so got the job offer, but moved here because my sister was already here. I had actually already worked at this organization when I first graduated college. I worked here as a classroom
Okay.
teacher for a couple of years, and then I moved back home, which is where I met my husband, had my first baby. Everything, and then we moved back here when I got this job offer again. So it kind of was just a full circle kind of moment. But while I was in Florida, I was able to work for a couple of different organizations, and turns out teachers don't really make that much money, so
Uh-huh.
I needed some side gigs. And that led me to I worked in a wine shop in St. Augustine, Florida. I also worked on a sailboat doing some like wine and food pairings, which was really, really fun for me because it combined my love of being on the water and boating and wine. And then I also was a Zumba instructor for 10 plus years. So, I kind of had the whole gamut of like wine and fitness all at the same time the whole time that I was in Florida.
Yeah.
When we moved back here, it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. So, Zumba kind of went out the window. But my love of wine still stays true.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's great. So you really were spandex and wine when you were there. That's that fits you. That's great. Oh my goodness. So having kids during the pandemic, tell me how that changed things for you too, because you weren't able to go out to classes and do things.
It was a lot of home based, kind of just do what you can in the basement.
Yeah.
We were working from home. And I mean, my daughter was born late that year, that first year of 2020. So, you know, 9 months, I think, at home with her, and that was rough. But
Yeah.
it was very much so, just holding on to her and doing squats and lunges and whatever you can.
Yeah.
Um, but I got really lucky that we had space enough in the basement to be able to have some equipment down there and just kind of dancing, doing my own thing, doing my own Zumba routines down there by myself, and just trying to find whatever YouTubes I could of workout classes and stuff, and just trying to keep as in shape as possible, to ensure that I was, trying the hardest that I could. We went for a lot of walks
Yeah.
outside too. So, um, But, it was difficult. I think it was difficult for everybody. It was, it
Oh,
was a
yeah.
very trying time for a lot of people. So,
Yeah, I know. I wish I could go back. I would do things totally differently, but that's,
mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
But it had to be hard too, being away from your students at that time because you couldn't do Zoom. I mean, you could do phone calls, but so how did that work with their studies then?
We did do a lot of virtual instruction.
Okay.
It was a lot of parent support.
Hmm.
There was, we did come back pretty quickly though, so we knew that it was not going to be as effective for our students just because of our population.
Hmm.
So we did try our hardest to get back in the building as soon as possible, which was a blessing. Just knowing for our kids what was going to be the most effective. And we were very, very careful. We knew that we had to do what was best for our kids and for their community and for our community and um, what was going to be the most supportive for them and their families. That's
Hmm.
the bottom line. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow,
mhm.
that had to have been tough. Yeah. So you've been in the industry for how long now?
17 years.
17 years. Okay.
Mhm.
And I mean,
Yeah.
from the look on your face, you'll just always be doing this.
It's the only thing I know how to do. I
Yeah.
mean, I and I know it's kind of funny to say that. This is really all I know how to do. I only know how to be a teacher of the visually impaired.
Yeah.
I This is what I went to school for. I really don't know what I would do if I wasn't in this field. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't able to teach Braille or
Yeah.
to, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what I would do.
Well, clearly you love it. You're passionate about it. They're lucky to have you. And, just as a society, we are lucky to have someone with you that has that passion to help people like that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, one more question for you then. I just want to know, what do you pour in your glass that makes you happy?
Um, oh goodness. If I can, I will always order a glass of champagne.
Nice
Always.
bubbles. Hmm.
Oh, I'm a sucker for bubbles. But I also love red wine.
Okay.
Yeah, I just champagne or red wine are kind of my go-tos. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good that you had that experience in Florida that knowledge base that you could draw from and try different things too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Alex, this has been fun. Thank you so much for sharing your time. And thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Alex and I had a little technical difficulties at the beginning of the episode, but everything turned out to be great. Although, after we got done with our discussion and I stopped recording, then we started talking about another event that she's involved with in Kansas City. So, here she is sharing information about that. Well, Alex, I know that you're also part of the trolley run, and that is something that you do. So can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes, so that is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And it is one of the most fun runs, I think, personally, in the city. It's the easiest course, it's all downhill. The best 4 miles you will ever run in your life. Um, it is the last Sunday of every April, and it benefits CCBI, and I personally am super tied to the cause, but it is I just love it. I think it's a great way to be involved, and to support a wonderful organization and the kids. But it is just the best run, I think. I know that runs are, becoming super saturated in the Kansas City area, but we've been around for, over 35 years now, and so I would say if you can support a run that supports a great organization, Trolley Run would definitely be the one to do.
Yeah, I think I've only done it one time, and it was so much fun. And it is a really popular one. You're right. So I need to make sure that I mark it off for next year because that would be a lot of fun. Because I didn't realize that that benefited your organization. So I will definitely put that on my schedule.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. A big thank you to Alex for being here, sharing her story, sharing her time. And thank you to her sister Carly for passing on her contact information. I know that Alex was talking about the trolley run, and it is a ways from now. So I'll try and remember in the spring or late winter to remind you guys, but it is such a fun run. And now you know it is a great cause that it's benefiting. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to follow Spandex and Wine so you don't miss an episode. To do this, just go to the podcast and click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button. This is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing and much appreciated. Lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going, and join the Spandex and Wine community in our private Facebook group by searching Spandex and Wine. Feel free to reach out to me at any time by emailing info@spandexandwine.com or text me at 913-392-2877. I appreciate you. Thank you.